Welcome to Spurs Focus, your go-to spot for daily Tottenham news, transfers, and match updates. Don't forget to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button now. Let's dive into today's top story. Tottenham's relentless schedule continues after big wins over West Ham and Villarreal. Thomas Frank now faces a tough Premier League test at Brighton. Tottenham's busy fixture schedule continues on Saturday as they face a tough game at Brighton in the Premier League, and Thomas Frank must again make some big squad decisions. Last Saturday evening, Spurs recorded a 3-0 win at West Ham, and then on Tuesday night they followed that up with a 1-0 Champions League victory against Villarreal. In a run of fixtures this month that will bring a game every 3 to 4 days, Tottenham now make the trip to face Brighton at the Amex Stadium on Saturday afternoon. Frank will want his team to continue their strong start to the season, which has brought 4 wins in 5 matches, including 4 clean sheets and just 1 goal conceded. The trip to face the Seagulls will provide a stern test, though, of both the team and Frank's faith in his squad. Having 3 full recovery days between matches, thanks to a Tuesday night Champions League game, should help the Dane pick a strong lineup. And up next, he has the Carabao Cup tie against League One side Doncaster Rovers on Wednesday night, which is likely to see him heavily rotate his squad. João Palhinha could come into the starting lineup alongside Rodrigo Bentancur, and if the Portuguese does step back into the 11, then it means one of Pape Matar Sarr and Lucas Bergwall has to drop out. With Bergwall enjoying back-to-back man of the match displays this week, it would seem unlikely to be the 19-year-old Swede that makes way. Elsewhere, Frank must decide whether it's time to give Destiny Udogie his first start of the season, and whether Randall Kolo Muani is fit enough to start, or whether that comes against Doncaster, or whether Brennan Johnson comes into the team to add more scoring ability on the break. The Spurs head coach remains without Dominic Solanke for the matches against the Seagulls and Rovers, as he has just returned to grass following his ankle problem. Here's the Tottenham team. We reckon Frank might select to face Brighton at the Amex. Thomas Frank says he holds no hard feelings towards Yves Bissouma after the Tottenham midfielder fell foul of his rules and failed to find a move this summer. Spurs travel to Bissouma's former club Brighton this afternoon, looking to maintain their strong start under the Dane, which has brought 4 wins in 5 matches, with 4 clean sheets and just 1 goal conceded. Bissouma has played no part in that following a knee injury during a summer in which Tottenham tried to sell him with his contract coming to a close next year. The 29-year-old has made 100 appearances for the North London club since arriving from Brighton for £25 million in 2022, but the Mali international has never consistently impressed and has struggled with disciplinary issues both on and off the pitch. Bissouma was filmed inhaling nitrous oxide last summer, and the social media video brought a 1-game Spurs suspension for the season opener, and he soon fell foul of Frank after repeatedly turning up late. The new head coach duly left him out of his UEFA Super Cup squad and then his Champions League squad for the coming months. A knee injury scuppered the midfielder's chance of a move and left Spurs with the risk of him running down his contract. Frank said that despite everything that has happened, Bissouma will not be cast aside when he returns to fitness. There are no hard feelings at all. Not before, not now, not at all. Train well and everyone has an opportunity, said Frank. He has just started to run outside, so he is not part of the group, but everything I've seen when I've said hello to him, and every day with the players, he seems good. Bissouma had already fallen down the pecking order behind 19-year-old Lucas Bergwall, who Frank admitted ahead of the game at the Amex Stadium is going from strength to strength. The coaches and I have been working with him on a couple of things. He's got so much energy that sometimes you need to say pause, stop, don't run when we have the ball, and find the higher, more dangerous positions, said the Spurs boss. For example, the deep run where he scored against West Ham was a big thing. The deep run where he was involved in the own goal against Villarreal. Those deep runs and arriving in a higher position up the pitch are key. Spurs remain without the injured Dominic Solanke, who has now returned to working on the grass alongside Japanese summer signing Kota Takai. Frank is looking to build upon the attacking side of his Tottenham side after putting the structure in place for a stronger defensive unit, as evidenced by the early flurry of clean sheets, the Champions League win against Villarreal, and the defeat in the Premier League to Bournemouth showed that the Dane's system's yet to fully click among a group of new attacking players like Mohamed Kudus and recently Xavi Simons. Big boost for Spurs. Dominic Solanke edges closer to a comeback, Maddison and Kulusevski step up rehab, and Son Heung-min proves he's still world-class with a hat-trick in ML. Tottenham striker Dominic Solanke looks to have taken one huge step closer towards a return from injury after missing the last 3 games. The 28-year-old has been dealing with an ankle issue since early August, which has resulted in him only playing 50 minutes of competitive football this season. All of those arrived before September's international break, with Solanke unavailable for wins against West Ham United and Villarreal, after surprisingly being absent from the squad to face his former club Bournemouth prior to the 2-week domestic pause. Despite having nearly 3 weeks to recover, ahead of last Saturday's win over West Ham, Solanke was ruled out of the London derby, and yet Frank still delivered a mostly positive update. Dom will not be available still. We don't expect it to be too long, but he will not be available for this game, he said in a press conference. With only a few days between Spurs' latest 2 victories, it was no surprise that Solanke remained out, but again Frank's comment suggested a return is not too far off. He is taking steps in the right direction, the Tottenham boss revealed before the Villarreal win earlier this week. So that is positive. As you saw out there that he was not involved in training, he is not ready to be involved tomorrow. For a number of weeks, Frank has been delivering similar Solanke updates in his press conferences, and yet he has continued to be absent. However, it certainly looks as though there was substance to his words, with the England international captured out on the grass, doing some individual training on Thursday, as per Sky Sports' Michael Bridge. A return to the matchday squad facing Brighton this Saturday is highly unlikely, considering how long he's been out, and also because he is yet to training with the squad this month. It is certainly a positive update though, and, barring any untimely setbacks, Solanke could return before the next international break against either Bodo/Glimt in the Champions League or Leeds United a few days later in Premier League action. This injury boost has arrived following James Maddison and Dejan Kulusevski updates. The 2 attackers are both out with long-term knee injuries, but are stepping up their rehabilitation in the gym at Hotspur Way. Maddison also captioned an Instagram post, "Missing it so much. Long way to go, but I cannot wait to be back out there in that Spurs shirt, man." Hands together and white heart emoji. Son Heung-min continued his blistering start to life in Major League Soccer on Wednesday night, grabbing a hat-trick for Los Angeles FC in a 4-1 win over Real Salt Lake. The South Korean left Tottenham Hotspur in the summer after a remarkable 10-year stint with the club. His decade in North London culminated in superb style as he lifted the UEFA Europa League trophy, following a 1-0 win over Manchester United in Bilbao. The departure of Ange Postecoglou and the appointment of Thomas Frank ushered in a new era for Spurs, one that ultimately began without Son, who departed for a new adventure in the United States. While there were some doubts about his ability to perform in the Premier League last season, he has already proven he has more than enough left in the tank to torment MLS defences. Real Salt Lake were unable to handle the 33-year-old's running power and finishing throughout Wednesday's game. Son scored on a breakaway, and then from distance in the first half, before capping off another counter-attack in the second to complete his hat-trick. After the match, Son said he was delighted to hit the ground running in MLS, but warned the rest of the division that he can still get better. "I think I'm still adapting to this league, but I think I can play better than where I am at, for sure," he said. "It's a lot about communication with the players, and I think I have a very, very close relationship with everyone. It's been 5 or 6 weeks, I would say, but everybody has welcomed me so well, and we've been communicating a lot. Also off the pitch, culture-wise, it's very important. There are still other things in this league to understand and to build between players, but I think it's working really well at the moment. 5 of Son's 6 matches for his new club have been away from home so far, but 3 of the next 4 will be at BMO Stadium in Los Angeles." On this evidence, the home fans have plenty to be excited about. Chaos, drama, and ambition at Tottenham. From big money signings and Maddison's injury setback to Levy's shock exit and Ademola Lookman's transfer saga, Spurs are entering a new era under Thomas Frank. It has been a chaotic few months at Tottenham Hotspur since Thomas Frank was named as Ange Postecoglou's replacement. In hindsight, completing the signings of Mathys Tel and Kevin Danso, and then securing the big-name additions of Mohamed Kudus and Xavi Simons, and taking their spending to over £170 million for the summer, was hugely positive. On top of that, the Lilywhites managed to bring in French striker Randal Kolo Muani on a season-long loan deal on deadline day to bolster their attack further. But Spurs fans will know that getting to this stage was anything but smooth sailing. Creative midfielder James Maddison ruptured his anterior cruciate ligament, ACL, during a pre-season game in August, while Spurs also failed miserably in trying to sign Savinho, Morgan Gibbs-White, and, most painfully, Eberechi Daniel Levy, stepping down as chairman after nearly a quarter of a century in the role earlier this month, was another bombshell. But Spurs have managed to rally and enjoy a steady start to the campaign under new boss Frank, as we now take a look at two major talking points this week. Tottenham-linked winger Ademola Lookman's situation at Atalanta is growing increasingly toxic. The Nigeria international has not played for the Serie A side since failing to force through a move to Inter Milan in the summer transfer window. Lookman has been at odds with the club since Atalanta refused to sell him to a rival, and he handed in a transfer request, before publicly accusing them of breaking a promise. The Italian outfit hit back by claiming the agreement to sell him for a certain fee only applied to non-Italian clubs. The 27-year-old has trained alone since going on strike, and was not part of the team's preparations on Tuesday to face PSG on Wednesday night in their opening Champions League game of the season. Manager Ivan Djuric last week described the relationship as strained after Lookman met with club chiefs to discuss his role at the club. Djuric said Lookman won't be called up. It's a bad, unpleasant situation. We need spirit, fighting spirit, humility, hard work, and a sense of belonging. Our players need to be like this. I want a different level of humanity. He followed those damning comments by adding, I have a very good relationship with Lookman, but I shouldn't have to beg him to play. Should Lookman and Atalanta fail to bury the hatchet, the situation will play into the hands of potential suitors, including Tottenham. Spurs were reported last month to have inquired about the forward. Atalanta were willing to sell Lookman for £43.3 million, and the player was offered to Spurs on numerous occasions during the window, though the North Londoners never made a formal offer. If the situation persists in the coming months, Spurs will be confident that they can sign the player for a bargain fee of around £20 million in January, given that Frank is reportedly a big admirer. Levy's sudden departure sparked rumours of a potential takeover deal at Spurs, which was swiftly denied by Tottenham in an official statement. The board of the club and ENIC confirmed that Tottenham Hotspur is not for sale, and ENIC has no intention to accept any such offer to acquire its interest in the club, the statement read. ENIC owns an 86.91% stake in Spurs, while the remainder is owned by a group of minority investors. Levy and members of his family hold a 29.88% share in the British investment company, and Joe Lewis's family trust owning the remaining 70.12%. That leaves an awkward situation whereby Levy still owns shares in the club. Football Insider reports that ENIC is likely looking to find a buyer for his shares, with any potential deal expected to take place in the Bahamas, where Lewis and Spurs' new non-executive chairman Peter Charrington are based. The outlet quoted former Manchester City financial advisor Stefan Borson as saying, I think that they're being honest in terms of them not having a particular desire to sell right now, certainly not all of it. But I do think that the situation with Daniel Levy doesn't seem to be sustainable. He's been effectively excluded from the management group. He's got a very substantial holding in the club. Indirectly, he owns 30% of ENIC, so you would think that the possibility, at the ENIC level, not the Tottenham Hotspur level, that there might be some discussions about who can replace Daniel Levy within the ENIC group that would then be the ultimate holder of shares in Tottenham Hotspur. Now that transaction, if it happened, would take place in the Bahamas. Daniel Levy and his family would receive the consideration of that sale of that 30%, and probably would not be anything to do with the takeover code, given that that company is a private Bahamas-based entity. When it comes to prospective buyers, Amanda Staveley's company, PCP International Finance, had been reported as a potential suitor, but PCP released a statement shortly afterwards saying they did not intend to make a bid for Tottenham.